Okay, so this video I'm going to show assembling the gimbal. A couple reasons. A, it'll be a good reference for anyone who wants to assemble one of these in the future. B, it'll be a good opportunity for someone to point out, hey, that's a dumb way of doing that, you should do it this other way. I've skipped ahead a couple steps and I've fitted the 608 bearings into the bearing holes in the center gimbal part. I've also put in some of the screws in the pegs because it's just fairly boring screwing in the thing. So the parts needed for this are 4 20mm M3 bolts, 4 10 to 15mm, it's not exactly super important, and 4 5 to 10. In terms of printed parts, there's the joiner part there, there's 2 little spacers, there's the base, and there's the calibration jig, there's the inner gimbal part, and then obviously the 4 peg pieces. In terms of tools, a pair of side cutters for cleaning up the printed parts, a pair of pliers just for general squeezing, hammer for hammering, and an electric screwdriver. I can highly recommend these are awesome. So step 1 is to prepare all these little peggy widgets. These 4 here I've already done this on, but they are much more robust when they have, I don't know if you can hear me when I'm screwing, so I'll just screw and then talk. They're much more robust when they have the metal screw through the middle of them, so it's a good idea to put that in beforehand. Now, there's 2 different types of these peggy pieces. In my right hand, the square section down the bottom there is slightly shorter on this one than it is on this one. That's because these ones handle the y-axis, the x-axis, and this one handles the y, and there's slightly different distances involved. So don't get those mixed up. Now you're going to need one from the y-axis and one from the x, and then you're going to need one of your shortest bolts. Now these ones are the ones that move and push up against the spring. So let me just get those in there. They want to go until there's enough of a gap in there to let your piano wire fit in. Oh yes, I should have mentioned that. 2 pieces of piano wire. I'll put the rest of those in. Excellent. Oh, there's a gigantic mozzie flying around, don't know if you can see that. So the hammer and the pliers are for getting the bearings into the gimbal part. The first time they go in it's a bit tough, it's a tight squeeze. That's because you don't want those to wobble at all. It's a bit of a struggle to get those back out again. So this piece is the bit that the joystick attaches onto. So this is the bit that moves back and forth. I haven't got the magnet attached to the bottom. The magnet is here. There's actually a little socket that holds the magnet in the right place, but I'm still tossing up exactly how that works, so I'm going to leave it off for the time being. Now the upside down polarity of the center gimbal is important. It should be this way up. If you can see that shape there, then this is the top. So this bit goes in the top there, and if you put it in and rotate it, then Bob's your uncle. So you can see that in the base of this there's these square holes. The square holes match the square pegs, so they fit down inside those. Now everything's a bit of a tight fit the first time round, so it's going to take a bit of encouragement. Now the pegs with the 3 bolts in them go on the side with the bolt holes. So for now I'll take the one with only 1 bolt in it and I'll fit it inside that bearing there. Tight squeeze. Okay, so it's not all the way in yet, but it's engaged with the square section on the bottom of the joiner on the other side. Now I want to get the one with the 3 bolts and the shorter square section there. I've actually found that if you assemble the bearings and the pegs ahead of time, it makes it a little bit quicker to get together. So that then fits inside there. And now you'll notice that the squares are engaged, so the joiner part moves back and forth with the peg parts. Now the hammer is useful at this stage, and so is a piece of wood that you don't care much about. I don't advise doing this on your desk, because you're likely to bang a divot in it. But once you've got everything sort of more or less in place, give it a good tap, make sure everything's seated in. Looking good. Now these center bolts on the pegs can go all the way in. So that drives those all the way into the center in here. Awesome. So there's X-axis hooked up. Now I may as well do the spring part of that now, just to show how it works. The other small, approximately 10mm bolts, they go into these holes here. And they are the anchors against which the springs rest when they are put into the gimbal. So that provides the centering force there. Wunderbar. Pop that off for now. So that's one axis done. Now the next axis is a bit trickier. There's another couple parts involved. There's these 2 washers here. Now these washers are there to add space in between this peg and the center part here. So the peg, oops, I got the wrong one, hold on, 3 bolts, because this is the spring side. So that pops into that bearing there for the y-axis, and then this washer slips over the inside. Again, you can see now why it's easier to assemble the bearing groups beforehand. And then that then pops over the top there. And oops, I should have shown you that. There's square holes in this part as well. Now don't fuss too much about getting that seated in there. It takes a bit of force to squeeze them in the first time round. Just lightly rest that in there. Makes it easier to get this side set up. In fact, I'm going to have to pop this one. Man. That's really in there. I'm going to need some sort of tool. Go. Clippity clip, pop the washer on. Now back to where we were before. Polarity of this doesn't matter, it can go any direction. But it is important to ensure that these are horizontal when they go in, not 90 degrees out. for obvious reasons. Now I'm going to pop that on that side. Now comes the part where the calibration jig is necessary. When I was hammering that side in, I could hammer away with impunity because there was solid plastic the whole way through. But in this one, there's a gap in between the peg there and the stem there. So if I were to hammer in that, it would just crush that stem in there that way. It would probably take the force, but it would maybe be distorted. So here's the calibration jig that I showed off in an earlier video. Slips over the stem. All the way down. Not quite in there yet. There we go. Poo-poo to those people who say printed parts aren't strong. So now that's all in place, it's solid plastic all the way through, so I should be able to just seat that in with a bit of gentle hammering. Very good. Now I'll do up these bolts. Awesome. Now I can take out that calibration jig. Guess it's more of an assembly jig really. There goes something. And there we have it. An assembled gimbal. Oops. I forgot to pop in these two bolts here. And here. So from this point, attach your springs. And there you have it. One assembled gimbal. Very nice. Not much to it.